So the time has come to start submitting your queries, and you want to know, should you pick a list of 3 or 4 good agents to query, or should you just go out with the scattershot approach? My name is Michael Carr. I'm with Veritas Literary Agency, and this is how to hook an agent. Before I start, you might consider subscribing. I'm putting up new content with insights about the publishing industry and agenting in particular all the time. Also, if you have any ideas, things you'd like covered by this channel, please consider leaving them in the comments. Uh, I know that people always have interesting questions to ask, and I'm happy to address some of them. So you're going out on submission, and you clearly have some agents that you'd prefer. There are other agents you don't know anything about, and then there's some agents that seem kind of iffy. Maybe you've gone to Agent Tracker or one of those other sorts of sites and gone and taken a list, and you're starting to put things together and you're confused about where you should start. So the question in a lot of people's minds is how they should approach entering into this process. The first thing you should know is that it's very, very slow. And I would say if any agent tells you that they want an exclusive window with a query of 30 days or however long it is, you should probably just ignore that. You might not submit to them. Fortunately, I'm seeing this less and less. I know why agents do this. It's kind of a bummer when you finally get to your query and then you're a little too late and there's already like 5 other people looking at it that you're in competition with. But this really only happens to me when I'm really slow on the queries. And right now I'm slow for me. I'm looking at queries right now that were submitted about a month ago. And that's in part because I was traveling. Also, I've been doing some work with this YouTube channel, and I've had some projects out on submission and new books coming in. It's just put me a little bit behind, but I'm trying to get caught up right now. But that's usually when you find yourself missing out on things. And so when someone is asking you for an exclusive period of time, to me, that's an indication that this person is perpetually running behind. And if they say 30 days, it's probably going to be 60 days before you hear back from them. So in 30 days, you're going to be, what's going on with that? But imagine, if you will, that you have 80 or 90 agents who are working in your specific genre. Let's say you're science fiction and fantasy, and there's maybe 80 or 90 names that you can see out there, and everybody wanted a month. Now, everybody doesn't want a month, but someone who asks for a month is essentially saying, before you get through all those agents, it is fair and just to ask for a month from every one of them. Well, 90 months is a long time, especially since a month turns into 2 and then someone requests. I mean, imagine if you go out to 3 different people over the course of 3 months and they all request it and then all pass and they take 2 or 3 months to look at it. You just can't do that. So ignore that. Do you want to go through and copy every single name and send them out to every single person all at first? Of course you don't want to. And the main reason why is because there's a really good chance that something is off. So what I would suggest doing is making a list of about 10 names. And if you know some people, fine. If not, feel free to go out to names you don't know, but people who say they represent your genre. You really don't have to do much more research than that. You can look and see if they want the first 5 pages included, a synopsis, that sort of thing. But you can do that sort of research in like 20 seconds just looking at their listing. You do not need to know who they represent. If they're brand new, if they're super well known, if they represent J.K. Rowling, if they represent nobody. You do not need to know that because your time commitment is very low at this point, and the stakes are very, very low at this point too. So I would say go out to 10 people. If how you hear from those 10 people is 5 not hearing from them at all, silence. A lot of people reject by silence. It sucks, but it's an unsolicited query for a reason. And the other 5 send you form rejection letters. Then, assuming you've targeted correctly people who say they're representing your category, there's probably something wrong with either your query or your opening pages or both. At that point, I would say go back to the drawing board on those opening 5 pages, not telling you to rewrite the whole book, but make sure it's got its hooks, that it's not explaining too much, that it's avoiding all of the issues that you can have in your opening pages, and take a really ruthless look at your query as well. And you should probably have had other people, other aspiring professionals, or even better, if you know any professionals, to have them look at it first before you've gone out, tested the concept, gone and done searches online for queries that worked, that sort of thing. Um, and then rework your query and try again with the next 10 names and the next 10 names. If you can get even like 2 or 3 positive responses, someone who says, it sounds interesting, but not quite for me, in a way that's a non-form rejection, one request for a partial, then that is indicating that it's doing something, because most people are going to reject you regardless, even if it's really good, simply through they're too busy, they're rushing through, they didn't take a look at it in the way they should have. So, but you need to start getting some positive. I mean, if you go through the whole list of 80 or 90 agents and you're not able to get 7 or 8 partials and 3 or 4 fulls, then again, your query or your opening pages or both. By your query, I can also be including your concept might not be marketable or something like that. But if you have 8 or 10 people looking at your book, and we don't request on a whim, right? That's a lot more work than just rejecting a query. If you have 8 or 10 people looking at it and you don't get an offer, then there's a problem with your book, right? In fact, I'd say even 4 or 5 people, there's probably an issue with your book and it's not quite ready. So keep working your way through the list. There is no harm whatsoever in going out to tons of people, including some people you might not actually want representing your book. So you're very, very promiscuous in the querying stage, and then in the signing with an agent stage, you become very selective. So I would say the moment that someone says, yeah, go ahead and send me the book, is the time you want to start doing some research. Send them the book, doesn't harm anything, right? So you then go out and see, do they represent people in your genre? Are they brand new? Are they mid-level career agents? Are they superstar agents? Whatever it is. And the answer of how you're going to select one agent or another is a subject of another video. But at that point is the time to actually start researching. People put a lot of effort into researching agents who are just going to give them a form rejection letter. There's no point in that. And people will say, because you represent so-and-so, who's one of my favorite authors, and sometimes that's a person who I don't even represent, but that I had signed at one point and then didn't sell their book 5 years ago, or it's someone who's, it is possible for someone's favorite author to be a writer who's with a smaller press, but when 8 or 10 people all pitching the same category, all saying the same thing, you can kind of sniff out that people are just saying that sort of thing. Or when someone mentions one of my bigger selling writers, and then I look at their stuff and it's so completely different that it just makes me think that they're just making stuff up. It's completely unnecessary, at least for me, to know who I represent at the point that you're querying me. The only thing that matters is if I find your query and your pages engaging, and I think that this is a book that I have time for and that I could sell. Those are the only things that matter to me. So you just go out as widely as you can, and then you're going to winnow down your interest in those people as their interest in you grows. So you do a little bit of research when it goes out, enough to keep you interested, if nothing else, and keep your hopes up. Hope is sorely lacking in this industry sometimes. So it's a moment to feel optimistic, to feel excited about possibilities. And then when someone says, yeah, I'd like to call and discuss your book, or they make an offer, you never have to jump right on that, right? If I'm interested in you today, I'll be interested in you in 2 weeks when you've had a chance to think it over and talk to the other people involved. And then once I've offered, that's when you do research. And a big part of the research is having the conversation with the agent to see if there's someone who matches up with you personality wise, right? You can't actually do any of that when you're querying. So query widely. Don't be afraid of the possibility of having someone interested who you wouldn't want to sign with. It's fairly small and it's really easy to back out. If you don't want to work with them, you just say, I've decided to go in a different direction.